بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is indeed a great blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has afforded us another month of Ramadan. It is now our duty and responsibility to derive maximum benefit from it. This is the month in which we have an opportunity to get closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the Holy Quran reminds us, O you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you as we prescribed it for those before you, so that you may become conscious of Allah. This is a verse from Surah Al-Baqarah, and this verse really guides us towards trying to get the benefit of the holy month of Ramadan, in trying to become aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and get as close as possible. And this is also a month that provides us with an opportunity to correct our erring ways and become steadfast. It enables us to recharge our faith and to overcome the slumber of the past years. It also prepares us to face the challenges of the next year. Hence, it is imperative that we make the most use of this time in Ramadan. Do not squander any minute or second of it, and do not become so futile in your activities. It is highly recommended that all of us draw up a schedule for a day and attempt to hold tight to it. Some of the most essential parts that must be included in this schedule must be a portion of time dedicated towards the recitation of the Holy Quran. And we also need to spend some time understanding the Holy Quran, studying the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course, the Taraweehs we must attend in Jama'ah. And we should also apportion a day off, a time in a day where we think of the Ummah and their plight and how we can help them. It is also very important for us to understand what the Taraweeh is offering us. It offers us extra opportunity to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What I mean by this is that by every extra prostration we make, every time we put our forehead on the ground, we are getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because remember what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned to us, that for this ummah, their mihraj is salah. And therefore for a believer, this is very, very imperative to understand that every time your forehead is on the ground and you call out Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, this connects the believer to the realms of the heavens, and he ascends towards the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In effect, for a believer, the prayer is his mihraj. Also regarding the ummah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam advised that none of you are a true believer until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. And this is a hadith in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu also quotes another hadith, that the believer is a mirror of the believer, and the believer is the brother of a believer. He safeguards his property for him and defends him from behind. So while the connection of the brotherhood in Islam is essential, and most of us are aware of it, let us also recall the bounties of the mihraj, that is the salah. And this bounty connects us to Masjid Al-Aqsa. Unfortunately, at present, both the Muslims and Masjid Al-Aqsa in Al-Quds are under great occupation. And it is our responsibility to do whatever we can in this month of Ramadan. We should also remember the guidance of the Holy Quran and of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that whoever reveres the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then he has the piety in his heart. And this is mentioned several times in the Holy Quran. And the signs could be events, personalities, catastrophes that has been mentioned in the Holy Quran, or even days. And the Holy Quran is imploring us to get close to the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the symbols of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has been mentioned in the Holy Quran, so that we may become conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of these symbols strengthens people's iman and their attachment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This strength and love that is required of us is not about relics, or it's not about events on its own, but it is more to do trying to find a path of the Sirat al-Mustaqim so that we remain steadfast. And this is why Muslims now in history, they have had great affection and affinity to the water of Zamzam, the stone of Hajar al-Aswad, the city of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Medina Munawwara, and of course the Holy Quran. These are all symbols of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we must be very close to them. And one of the greatest symbols of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, unfortunately, that is under occupation today, is Masjid Al-Aqsa. And we need to build our ties to this great symbol of Islam. The verse that I'm referring to is in Surah Hajj 22:32, which says that whoever honors the symbols of Allah, indeed it is from the piety of their hearts. That someone shows respect and honor by taking care of the symbols of Allah is indicative of his inner piety. It shows that he is possessed of some degree of taqwa, which prompts him or her to serve Allah's symbols. And this is very, very important. And my brothers and sisters, it is with great pain that we have to recall that the greatest symbol of Islam today is under occupation, and we have to become aware of this. And it is a great opportunity that in the month of Ramadan we remember why it's important for us to become attached to Masjid Al-Aqsa, and why Masjid Al-Aqsa is a symbol of Islam. Now, Al-Aqsa is also known as Al-Haram al-Sharif or Al-Aqsa Sanctuary. It is the holiest site in Jerusalem, which Muslims refer to as Al-Quds. It has been used as a place of worship, residence and meditation by many prophets and pious individuals, past and present. It is a site blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, made to be one of the most holiest areas on earth, where angels descended with Allah's message to chosen prophets. Masjid Al-Aqsa is the site of the most fantastic and incredible journey undertaken by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam during the night of Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, when he was taken up to the heavens by the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This revered site of Al-Aqsa Sanctuary was also the first Qibla of Islam, before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to change it from the holy towards the holy Masjid of Makkah. The holy sanctuary of Al-Aqsa saw the second house of Allah being built on planet Earth by Prophet Adam al-Islam after the Kaaba in Makkah. This was also the place where the Prophet Ibrahim migrated and lived for most of his life. Here Ibrahim al-Islam lived, traded, taught the Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and rebuilt Masjid within the sanctuary of Al-Aqsa, and finally passed away. The grave of Prophet Ibrahim is in a place near Al-Aqsa Sanctuary called Al-Khalil, which is approximately half an hour drive from Al-Quds. This is Masjid Al-Aqsa and its surrounding, and Jerusalem is where also Yaqub al-Islam raised his 12 sons, and it is from here that Yusuf al-Islam was taken and sold in Egypt as a slave. A few centuries later, Musa al-Islam was directed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to migrate back towards Jerusalem. After the flight from Fir'aun, Musa al-Islam traveled across the desert with his people and prayed to Almighty Allah that he would prefer to be at a place near Masjid Al-Aqsa when death overtakes him. Dawood al-Islam was also from the people of Musa al-Islam, and after conquering the city of Jerusalem, he spent a great deal of time in Al-Aqsa Sanctuary, meditating with and reciting the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Holy Quran reminds us that the very hills in which Dawood al-Islam recited the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they resonated his voices is in and around Masjid Al-Aqsa. We also understand that the private chamber of Dawood al-Islam mentioned in the Holy Quran was within the Al-Aqsa Sanctuary. The son of Dawood al-Islam, Sulaiman al-Islam, also resided in Al-Quds and was granted the great kingdom there due to his righteousness. The wind that was made subject to him, enabling him to fly above and beyond Al-Quds. Sulaiman al-Islam completed the building of Masjid Al-Aqsa within Al-Haram al-Sharif, which his father Dawood al-Islam had begun. There are many other prophets who resided in and around Masjid Al-Aqsa, and it is there that in later times Zakaria al-Islam was the Imam of Masjid Al-Aqsa, and it is here that Zakaria al-Islam supplicated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a son, as mentioned in the Holy Quran. There did Zakaria pray to his Lord, saying, "My Lord, grant me a child who is pure." The very sanctuary of Al-Aqsa is where Sayyidina Maryam, the mother of Isa al-Islam, was meditating, and this is where the very place where angels came to her and provided her with a news of a miraculous conception of the birth of Isa alayhi salam. These are some of the many incidences that took place around Al-Aqsa Sanctuary and ensured its high and lofty status in the hearts of Muslims throughout the century. To reflect their devotion, Muslims of previous generations have constructed the most fantastic places of worship within Al-Aqsa Sanctuary. They have maintained it by investing their wealth, their energy, their resources, and when it was required, many of them gave their lives to protect Al-Aqsa Sanctuary. The holy city of Al-Quds, Jerusalem, is referred to by several names. Historically, the Byzantines and the Romans used to call it Ilia. Later on, it became known as Baitul Maqdis or Al-Quds, and a few people refer it to it as Madinat al-Salam, which means the city of peace. Baitul Maqdis, meaning the house of purity or purification, is the name that is reported in various traditions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and used by his companions. It is referred to as the house of purification because it is a place where attempts have been made to purify mankind and raise human beings to a greater level of consciousness by the many prophets who lived there preaching Allah's message. Al-Quds itself means the purest place. Al-Quds is the most popular term used by Muslims today throughout the globe when we refer to the city of Jerusalem. Therefore, the city of Quds now extends something like 45 square kilometers. Within the city of Al-Quds is the Old City, where major historical events took place, and within the Old City on the southern east corner is an area referred to as Al-Haram al-Sharif. Al-Aqsa Sanctuary covers an area approximately 35 acres, and this is a very, very big place. And within this area, the southern end is a black dome masjid called Masjid Al-Aqsa. At the center of Al-Haram al-Sharif is the golden dome masjid called Qubat al-Sakhra, Dome of the Rock. And there are within Al-Aqsa Sanctuary 42 other monuments and buildings. It has become common practice to refer to the whole area as Al-Aqsa Sanctuary or Al-Haram al-Sharif and the black dome masjid as Masjid Al-Aqsa. However, it is very, very important for us to make a distinction between Al-Aqsa Sanctuary and Masjid Al-Aqsa. It is extremely important to appreciate that it is the land of Al-Haram al-Sharif, Al-Aqsa Sanctuary, that is the most precious and blessed. When the Holy Quran in Surah Al-Isra refers to Masjid Al-Aqsa, meaning a place of prostration, it is this land of Al-Aqsa Sanctuary that is implied, and not any of the buildings. Although the buildings within it, of course, are extremely important and they have a historical connotation, both the Dome of the Rock and the Black Dome Masjid, the Masjid Al-Aqsa, are of great historical significance. But one must understand it is the land that we are referring to when we talk about Al-Aqsa Sanctuary. The glorious Dome of the Rock, known as Qubat al-Sakhra, captivates the landscape of Al-Quds and has done so for hundreds of years. This is a testimony of Muslims' devotion to Al-Aqsa Sanctuary. The great and beautiful Black Dome Masjid called Masjid Al-Aqsa can house over 5,000 musallis. In recent years, the reopening of Musalla Marwan has maintained the tradition of looking after Masjid Al-Aqsa, even in adversity and under occupation. The love and sacrifice of the pious predecessors indicates the importance and centrality of Al-Aqsa Sanctuary. However, there are healthy debates within the Muslim Ummah whether Al-Aqsa Sanctuary can be referred to as the Haram or not. The various views includes Al-Shafi rahmatullah alayh and Al-Shawkani rahmatullah alayh, who regard Al-Aqsa as Haram, but others think only Makkah and Medina are Haramain. Yet other scholars consider only Makkah to be the Haram. Regardless of its status, as Haram or not, no one can dispute the great virtues, blessing and holiness of Al-Aqsa Sanctuary. The debate in no way undermines the eminence and the deep central position of Al-Aqsa Sanctuary has carved within the psyche of the Muslim Ummah and formed the nucleus of one of the most holiest sites on earth. And it is a great opportunity for us that in this month of Ramadan, inshallah, we'll be able to discuss the virtues and the history of Al-Aqsa, so that both me and you become more aware of the greatness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has afforded this ummah and this great symbol of Islam that is within us and its position in history and its position today. And we hope that through this, our efforts and understanding, it will empower us and hopefully try and assist and come to the rescue of Masjid Al-Aqsa, because it is today under occupation, and it is all our responsibility to do whatever we can for Masjid Al-Aqsa. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.